Hello there, everyone. You're listening to episode 90 of Around the Hearth, a Hearthstone podcast brought to you by a couple of guys who just want to be your Valentine. As always, I'm rebobson.
And I'm Adam.
And as always, on every show, we'd like to give a special shout out to our patrons that help make this show possible for their continued support. Louise, Michael, Kira, Jennifer, Huckman, and Daniel. If you would like to join this list of amazing people around the Hearth and get some other cool rewards, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/aroundthehearth. The link will be in the show notes. And if you're watching us live and you have Amazon Prime, please consider using your Twitch Prime sub to get some sweet ATH emotes to use in the chat each Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you can't sub, then follow is always more than welcome. We love the sport all the same. Now, on to our weeks in Hearthstone. How about your week in Hearthstone, Adam? How's it been?
Non-existent. I had the flu all week, so I didn't
that's
get.
a bummer.
I mean, you would think you would would be, hey, good time to play some Hearthstone, but I honestly didn't have the strength to play much Hearthstone this week. So basically, I just wrote the show. I wrote the show for our new format. So if you're listening today, this is the first stage of some changes that we're making to the show to make it a bit more streamlined and give you guys kind of what you've been asking for. We do appreciate the feedback you gave us in a recent survey we put out this 2 weeks ago. So hopefully you enjoyed the new show, and please continue to leave us feedback. We do appreciate any comments and we do value your guys' opinion very much. So my uneventful week transitions to what I assume for you, Robson, is a very eventful week. Hearthstone was. You always have eventful weeks. And welcome back to the show, by the way.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I have been gone for, I don't know, since November.
It's been almost it's almost 2 months yet.
Yeah, I've been gone for a while. I had a nice little break, little hiatus. Very pleasant. But the past week, Hearthstone-wise, hasn't been too much. I'm just playing little bits here and there. I'm back trying to finish my studies, so there's less time for Hearthstone, as it were. But in the meantime, just kind of playing bits here and there. What I normally do is just go on, play a few games. Just like I fancy playing this deck, and then I'll get bored of playing against Odd Paladin, and then I'll stop. So EvilSquirrel might have departed the show for the time being, but the hatred of Odd Paladin is going to live on through me. Because I hate it so much now. I'm so bored of it. But that's been my week for the most part. Oh, and also, in the past couple of weeks, I have been running the streams for the finals of the Badass Women of Hearthstone tournament, which has been going on. Doing some casting, doing some stream operating, and the very last day of it is happening right about now, pretty much. So anyone who's watching live after this is done, I highly recommend you go to check that out at twitch.tv/badasswomenhs. It is
look for the little badger, basically.
Look for the little badger, because, shout out to someone who was on the show a long time ago who basically started the whole thing.
Yeah.
We got Toast. That was a wonderful episode. And so it's been nice to kind of see that whole thing come to fruition in such a massive way. So my week's had some very positive influences, but moving on from that, what's been happening in the news since we were last on, Adam?
Well, there's been a good amount, but I just want to cut to the juicy stuff. So first of all, there's been some ladder changes. Again, So a little less than a year ago, a new ladder system was put into place in order to make the monthly grind less punishing for all players. Basically, they added rank checkpoints. Every rank had 5 stars. You only decayed 4 ranks every month, as opposed to a lot more than that.
Oh god, I remember that system. I almost forgot about that time.
Yeah, those are hard times.
That was a big climb.
Yeah. Hitting legend and having to climb back from rank 16 was always tough.
Oy.
I don't miss that. I don't miss that. So anyway, so basically, there was one more thing that was changed, and that no, I touched that base on that. Anyway, so it's been amended again. So now, now that there's 50 ranks, because we live in 2019, they made ranks 50 to 10 a bit less taxing. So now ranks 50 to 16 only have 3 stars to climb between ranks, and ranks 14 to 11 only require 4. The rest of the ranks still require 5 stars. This basically helps individuals looking to come back into ranked after a long hiatus and not overwhelm new players. Because that's a lot of stars to climb if there's 5 stars at every single rank in the game, basically. Like after 25.
Yeah.
That's 125 stars, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lot of stars.
Too many.
Too many stars. Well, so now there are less stars. So, enjoy an easier ranked climb. This change went live February 1st, 2019. But probably the biggest thing on everyone's mind, there's been another round of nerfs in the same expansion. This is unprecedented. So on February 5th, another unprecedented move, another round of card nerfs were released. And here they are in no particular order. Cold Blood, the rogue spell, was nerfed, had its mana cost up from 1 to 2. Flame Tongue Totem had its mana cost up from 2 to 3. Equality, the Paladin spell, had its cost up from 2 to 4. Hunter's Mark saw its second mana increase, upping it from 1 to 2. I totally forgot that it was a free spell at one point. I think it's because Hunter was less relevant then. But anyway.
Yes,
and then the only non-classic card to receive a nerf, Lesser Emerald Spellstone, the Hunter card that makes a bunch of wolves for playing secrets, had its mana cost up from 5 to 6. These changes were heavily viewed as controversial by the player base, and makes the evergreen nature of the classics a lot less tenable. This is the second time in about as many months as we've seen nerfs to the cards in Classic. If you recall, earlier in the month we saw a set of nerfs mostly targeting the Druid ramp set, namely Wild Growth and Nourage, which I don't know if you knew, completely killed the Druid class. At least in Standard.
They're still playing Miracle Druid.
They're trying. They're doing their best. They're being their best Druid. Some player out there is being the best, worst class player they can be.
I mean, people still play Malagos Druid and Tograggle Druid, just the old versions. They just don't play Wild Growth anymore. Turns out Nourish is still kind of good enough. It's just Wild Growth isn't.
Yeah, it's because at 3 you can put other stuff in the deck. You need to put other stuff in the deck, basically. I think the Lesser Spellstone nerf was probably the most... I understand why they did it, but the card's going to rotate out of Standard pretty soon. So if this was a nerf, it doesn't seem like these nerfs really targeted Standard so much. Well, some of them did. Like
they just hit aggro in general.
Yeah, so most of these were targeted at aggro, with the exception of like Equality.
No, I think Equality is an aggro nerf. It's like the deck that hits the hardest has been even Paladin, because they can't go Equality Avenging Wrath as easily anymore.
Yeah, but the control lead decks can still use Equality for whatever shenanigans they want to do.
Higher Equality at 6 mana is still just really good.
Yeah, it just happens later than 4. So, but the aggro decks are dead, so you don't have to. Well, not dead, but they're hurting.
They are really hurting. Yeah, the Flame Tongue nerf is what feels like a wild nerf, because even Shaman is pretty good in wild, or was. Less good now. And Cold Blood just ruins Odd Rogue. Bye bye aggro. Aggro wasn't even good.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they needed to nerf the aggressive cards on this list.
Nerf Eternal Servitude. Nerf the Priest Spellstone. Nerf Barnes. Nerf Kingsbane.
Yeah,
Don't nerf the aggro.
I don't know about you, but sometimes I need a quick game of Hearthstone, and I like to play aggro, so this hurts. This hurts me.
I like playing aggro, and it's all terrible. The only good aggro deck right now is Midrange Hunter. Odd Paladin's kind of aggro, but it's kind of mid-rangey type thing.
Somehow, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it kind of evolved into that, honestly.
Yeah, Frostwolf Warlord.
But anyway,
Card.
so as you know, we had a new, basically an entire new Team 5 in place this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle their first Hall of Fame selections coming up for the new Hearthstone year. Obviously, none of these will probably be included.
Because they're not going to be played anymore.
Yeah, they're not going to be played anymore. I don't know. Maybe they won't have any. Could they not do any Hall of Fame this year? That's possible.
I think we're reaching the point with Malagos where it's getting a bit ubiquitous. That's a card which has to be on the consideration because Malagos pops up so much right now.
Well, it seems like every expansion someone tries to make Malagos work some way.
Yeah, you can play Malagos Shaman, you can play Malagos Rogue, you can play Malagos Druid, you can play Clone Priest with Malagos.
Yes, do you have spells that damage the face? If so, you can play Malagos.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess he would probably be number one on the block, but that'd be tough. I think
that does pop up every now and then.
Yeah, Auctioneer, yeah. He still, I haven't seen him in a while though, so maybe he can dodge the Hall of Fame. Oh, in Druid, yes, but not as much as we used to.
Yeah, we're just on a kind of down patch with Gadget Sand, but he does always appear. There's an argument for Gadget Sand, but I think Malagos is the card that I'd want to see go because I'm getting sick of OTKs.
Yeah, me too. I like to at least maybe get a turn, when I get to do something, or it wasn't him playing solitaire and me trying to kill him kind of thing.
I like playing Hearthstone.
Yeah, I don't like playing solitaire. I can play solitaire. Solitaire came free with my PC. I can play that anytime.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's it as far as major news. We'll keep you informed of any new news that pops up every week. So make sure you tune into the show or give it a listen to keep yourself up to date with the latest in Hearthstone news. But now, now we go to sports. Well, esports with rebobson.
Yep, so I've been absent for the show for a good while, so there has been an awful lot going on esports-wise, what with all three playoffs happening in the meanwhile. All three playoff metas evolved dramatically from one to the other, which was quite interesting to see. And since then, we've had these nerfs that we just talked about, so I don't think there's really much point in talking about what people brought, because it kept changing and now it's completely irrelevant. However, should quickly say the 16 players who will be competing in the Winter Championships on February 28th, which should be a great way to send off this iteration of the HCT format. And it's going to be, I think, 2 shows' time where we have an announcement about what the hell's going on in HCT for after that.
Yeah, we get the announcement on the 19th, so 9 more days from now.
Yeah, so 2 shows' time, because it will be 2 days after our next show.
Yeah.
So, players who will be competing. From the Americas, we have Bloodyface, again, Noblord, Ike, and Bobby X. Nice to see Ike finally get there. From Europe, we have Bunny Hopper and Viper, again, both making another championships.
Bunny Hopper. Did Viper just take 3 of the other 2 spots? Is that what happened here?
Because there's actually several players in this champs who are already going to Worlds, the way it works, I believe, is the next player, if they make it again, the next player, so I think the player that they beat to make it the second time, will still get the place. So essentially there are less places to play for in this champs. So there's 16 players, but with several of them already going, it means there's essentially 13 players competing. So your chances are higher.
Yeah, it's because
Which
Viper
is-
gate-kept 2 positions, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, because they're just that good. Bunny Hopper and Viper both going. Bloody Face is already going. But the other players from Europe are going to be Thunder Up and Failey. Failey needs to finally do it. I'm rooting for him. From Asia, we have Tansoku, Roger, Definition, and Tyler. Another one who's already going to Worlds. And from China, we have Lion King, Simiao, Yu Ying, and Jing. I think those are the correct names. They have like prefixes on all their things, which I think are their teams. That's how they do it in China, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
China's a strange region.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it. I know nothing about China, so whatever. However, much more recently, and in this meta, last night, like literally last night, it started at 2 a.m. European time. We had the third Masters tournament from Blizzard, with the players who made Master competing against each other in 4 rounds of Swiss, going to a top 4. I think that was quite a good indication of what's good right now. So, winning it, Jala beat Kalash in the final, and he was running old school Togwaggle as a leader druid with Nourish, Death Rattle Hunter, Control Priest, and Q-Block. Yeah, hey, innovation. Sure sounds familiar. And Kalash also had Death Rattle Hunter, also had Q-Block, but his Togwaggle Druid was the kind of Miracle Hakar variant, and Quest Rogue, another fun, very recent, innovative deck. The other 2 players in the top 4 were Sohyun, who's just winning, just getting everywhere, also running Quest Rogue and Death Rattle Hunter, but he had Mechathune Warlock and Clone Priest, and Board Control, again with Q-Block, but with a slightly different lineup of Murloc Paladin, Combo Priest, and Midrange Hunter. Murloc Paladin, it's back.
Thank goodness.
Oh, I've missed it.
How I've missed you.
But not quite back enough to win the tournament.
Yeah, it's missing something, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's quite telling that Board Control with what is basically an aggro lineup just couldn't get past the top 4 against entirely kind of combo decks. So, basically what I'm saying for competitive players, anti-control / combo, really good, basically the only thing you should consider playing. Aggro, pretty mediocre. Control, absolutely useless. Don't play control. There we go.
You just can't get there. Too many combo decks.
Nope. There's some merit. Like, Viper's been playing recently a kind of odd warrior, which has cubes, Devilsaur eggs, Leroy, Faceless Manipulators, stuff like that, which has been quite fun to play, but it just feels a bit weird.
He always comes up with something cheeky, like he came up with that Peanut Shaman deck, and that did pretty well.
Peanut Shaman.
God
Rip.
bless that deck.
Yep, it's now absolutely terrible because everyone's just playing combo.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it for esports news. We'll have some more. Like we're in the off season, so it's minimal.
Well, we're heading into Worlds, so we'll have predictions for that coming up soon. You get to choose we get to choose our champions again.
We choose our champions for the Winter Championships first. That'll happen sometime this week, I think. And you should pick Failey.
Oh, just okay, saying. Yeah. I'm gonna go off the low. I'm gonna go with Tyler. That guy's grinding hard.
He's already made it.
Yeah, but I can still choose him to win HCT winner.
I guess so, but Failey, man, Failey. Anyway, we're gonna move on to card of the week.
Yes, it's back.
It's back, baby.
All right, it's very cool. So every week we like to ask you guys, our listeners and our community, for suggestions on cards each week we should give a try, and we'll have a play with. We'll come up with a brew and give it a go. Some spicy cards that don't see a lot of play or are seeing kind of fringe play. So our card for this week is our lovable, aptly funnily named Raptor Lord Gonk the Raptor. The Druid 7-mana legend 4/9. Says, after your hero attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. Now, this card, at least at the beginning of the expansion, did see a fair amount of play, but it hasn't been seeing play a whole lot since. This card was suggested by our Discord listener, Caketality. So thank you again for the suggestion, Caketality. And we're gonna have a go with the Gonk this week, and see what we can come up with. Hopefully we can come up with something good, because I think this card's pretty cool.
Odd Druid.
Yeah, we did say that could be a thing, this expansion.
I'm going to try it. Also, I think you can just play this Malagos Druid. That's what someone did, I believe. I think it was Rivius brought Malagonk Druid to, like, a big tournament or to playoffs or something. I've got memories of that, and it seems like a Rivius thing to do. It was in the Asia region.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, that sounds familiar. So remember, so if you want to suggest a card for us to try out next week, you can tweet us at @AroundTheHearth or join our Discord server and via the link in our show notes. Now, reprising another segment that's been absent, we're going to go into our deck of the week with rebobson.
Yeah, I've missed talking about deck of the week. So every week we'll talk about something interesting that I managed to find. If you have your suggestions for deck of the week as well, please do shoot them in our Discord or tweet them to us at Around the Hearth. We'll tweet asking for decks every week, just to remind you, but just making sure. So this week, what we have is Nicholena's Even Rogue. Even Rogue is a deck that I started talking about a lot when this set was announced, particularly when I saw the card Sharkfin Fan. So I'm really happy that someone's actually made it work, because it's just such a dumb idea, which is just so glorious. So when we tweeted this week asking for decks of the week, I had already seen Nicholena tweeting about hitting Legend with her version of Even Rogue, so I was thinking about it already. Then I got 2 more suggestions for different Even Rogue lists from different people. So I think we have to do Even Rogue this week. I tried out all 3 lists. Shout out to Deck Tech and Dan Dimmitt for their suggestions as well. But I think Nicholena's is my favourite ever so slightly, as it just plays some pretty sweet cards while playing some of my favourites as well. So, Even Rogue, as an archetype, centers obviously around using the 1-mana dagger on turn 1, then utilizing this effect on turn 2 in some way, using a lot of weapon synergies, while also packing a significant pirate package, as well as what I'm going to start calling the Even package, as it just shows up in basically every Even deck at this point. I'm of course talking about just running 2 Corpse Takers with a single Wind Fury Harpy, the old Even Paladin trick. It's present in this list, as well as 2 Argent Commanders for their Divine Shield, and a Lich King for an extra taunt. Next up in the list, we have the Pirate Package. Bloodcell Raiders and Sharkfin Fans are the early game pirates, which kind of really utilize the turn 1 dagger play. Ticket Scalpers as a bit of extra card draw, as well as the Cursed Castaways. And of course, Captain Hook Tusk, because the turn 8 Hook Tusk is just nuts. If you can get that off, if you have a dagger equipped, you pull a Sharkfin Fan, then you hit it, then you have just a whole ton of rushing pirates. If you have Ticket Scalper, when you play Hook Tusk, you draw a ton of cards. And Hook Tusk is just an amazing card. I played a lot of Tempo Rogue earlier, about a month ago, when I needed to get my golden rogues on the other servers. And just playing Hook Tusk is, I think it's the most powerful card from Rastakhan's Rumble, like, of any of them.
Whoa. That's a bold statement.
Its effect is absolutely mental. Especially when you can, like, with Ticket Scalper especially, giving that rush and then drawing, like, so it's basically 8 mana, summon 4 minions, and then draw 4 cards.
Yeah, so when you put it like that, it does sound pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's a little less powerful in this version because you do run cheaper pirates like with Bloodcell Raider and Sharkfin Fan, but for the early game tempo they provide, I think it's still worth it. And Hook Tusk is just nuts. Now, the more interesting cards on the list, we have Grave Shambler.
Now,
Adam,
what does Grave Shambler do? All right, I think I got
Do
this.
you know what Grave Shambler does?
I think it has something to do with when your weapon's destroyed, doesn't it?
Yeah, but what happens?
Oh, I think it gains stats, I think.
Yeah, it's a 4-mana 4/4 elemental, which gains +1/+1 every time your weapon is destroyed. When you're playing Even Rogue and you're daggering a lot, that's going to grow fast. And it's just a little cool inclusion. I don't think it's amazing, but it's cool. And, of course, there is also a package of just good rogue cards. So you got double Backstab, double Sap, double Cold Blood. Now it's an even card, you can play it in Even Rogue instead of Odd Rogue. as well as Faldorei Strider for a bit of extra reach. If you do draw lots of cards with the kind of hook tusk thing and the ticket scalpers, you thin out your deck, and then you just draw these spiders from Faldorei. And Faldorei Strider is probably one of my favourite cards ever, so anytime it's in a deck, I'm like, ooh.
There's extra value too, so like you get extra. It's basically one guy for 4 guys.
Exactly, it's just good. So Eviscerate is the notable exclusion here. And what's the main difference with another submitted deck?
But we can't include Cold Blood now because that's an even card.
Yeah, but if you have Cold Blood and Eviscerate, then that's a lot of damage. So if you were to make a change to this particular list, I think the change I would make would be Grave Shambler for Eviscerate, because Grave Shambler's cool, but it's not amazing, and Eviscerate's just good.
Yeah, Grave Shambler was kind of one of those like gimmicky cards that can do a lot. But like Eviscerate does something good every time.
Yeah, Grave Shambler is pretty flashy, but it's also a bit crap. Another upside to running Eviscerate over the Shambler is you do run 2 Cursed Castaways, but your only 2 combo cards in this list are the double Cold Blood. So you put in another 2 combo cards for the Cursed Castaway to draw, which is, just extra cycle. This deck likes drawing, because then your Faldorei Striders get more effective. So I think that change is a pretty positive one. And finally, we just got a few more neutral minions to round the deck off. Double Acidic Swampoos, because everyone's running weapons right now. Gen Greymane, of course. You need to upgrade the hero power in some way. And, do you remember, like, a year ago, when Tempo Rogue was in kind of full swing, the throwback pairing of Cairn Bloodhoof into Bone Net?
Oh, yeah, it's back.
It is back.
Welcome back, Karen.
Yeah, it's cool to just play Cairn in a deck again, because it's been a while. Like, remember the last time you saw Cairn appear in a deck on ladder?
It's been a little while. Everyone's like... I get the question asked a lot. Should I dust Cairn? And I always tell people no.
The answer's probably yes, though.
Is it? Because like sometimes he's really good.
When?
Like this very moment.
Yeah, I mean that was the Bone Mare moment. Again, Bone Mare only playable in this deck because it was nerfed a long time ago from 7 mana to 8 mana, and then the curve from Cairn into Bone Mare was really powerful. Now there is a turn between the two of them. It's not quite the same, and Cairn is very slow now. The way Hearthstone's developed, just playing a 6 mana 4/5 with another 4/5 inside it is people will just ignore Cairn.
Yeah, until you put a Bone Mare on them.
Yeah, but you might be dead at that point because you spent 6 mana to play a 4/5, which does nothing.
Does that mean Cairn is maybe an exclusion for this deck?
It's definitely a consideration, to be honest. But I just like playing him, but it's probably one of the worst cards in the deck, which makes me sad.
Most of this, I think like a good amount of this deck will stay in post-rotation, so the only things you have to replace are Lich King and Bone Mare, if I'm not mistaken. And Corpse Deck. You have to remove the entire Corpse Taker package, too.
Yeah, so you would lose Bone Mare and Lich King and Corpse Takers. Faldorei Strider. No, Faldorei Strider is a Kobold's card.
That rotates, doesn't it?
Yep, that does rotate as well, and that card is kind of fantastic.
Good. Yeah, kind of good. So most of this deck rotates, so you can at least play this for another couple of months.
Well, you lose the Corpse Taker package, but you still have the entire Pirate package.
Plus whatever their new even costed cards come out, basically.
50% of the new cards
are usually even costed, yeah.
Yeah, so there is hope for this deck still. It's got awkward matchups now already. It's really bad against Odd Paladin. Screw you, Odd Paladin. I got to say it every 15 minutes or so. But it does okay against a lot of things. It doesn't do particularly amazing against any one deck, but you can kind of get 48 to 50% against a lot of things, and sometimes that's just good enough. But that's it for Deck of the Week. And now we move on to
the main topic of the show. All right, roll out your podiums at rebobson. It's time to talk about our State of Hearthstone 2019. So, over the past year plus of Hearthstone, there's been a lot to talk about, whether it's good or bad regarding the game we love. Whether it's changes to the game or the design team, it's been I could say, this is kind of putting it lightly, it's been a whirlwind of a year for Hearthstone. A lot of ups and a lot of downs. So we want to take some time today and talk about a lot of the issues that surround the in-game and outside game environment and grade the overall state of Hearthstone with no bias whatsoever. We are not, a Blizzard sponsored podcast. We can kind of say it was what we want. But Blizzard, please forgive us for any harsh criticisms. We only do this because we care. All right. All right. So the first topic was I want to tell you about the last year of standard sets. And I think it goes without saying, it's been a bit underwhelming.
It's been crap.
So, what are the reasons for that? Well, first of all,
there is one very, very big reason, which is that the previous year's sets were completely mental.
Right, and this was those previous year sets were the final year's sets of the previous Team 5 headed by Ben Brode. His last set he worked on was the Witchwood, if I'm not mistaken, before he moved on to Second Breakfast.
Well, he left just after the Witchwood was released, so given that they work on things in advance, I'm not sure exactly when his influence stopped being noticed.
But it seems like definitely the last two sets have not had much impact on the current meta, and the Witchwood has like fringe influence on decks currently floating around. We do see two
cards from the Witchwood have fringe influence on decks, although they have major influence on decks. It's Ged and Baku from the Witchwood are the main cards. Boomsday Project can essentially be summarized as Ziliax, and Rustgun's Rumble had a bit more influence. Some things have kind of taken off. Shavala was like actually a big impact card.
Yeah, I think Rastakhan's brought back the Rise of Combo, but it didn't really, no cards really stand out other than Shavala. And we did have, we were all really, and I guess Zul'jin.
Oh yeah, Zul'jin, but now the nerf to the Spellstone has kind of put a dampener on that. So now we're just playing mid-range Hunter instead. Springpaw. Springpaw has been a pretty impactful. Yeah, but we're just kind of clutching at straws at this point.
Yeah, we're really grasping at stuff. So yeah, basically the relative power level of the past 2.5 sets have basically not been quite what we're used to, and as a result, there hasn't been much wave making. But the only real waves that got made were the introduction of odd and even decks to the format, which are going to stick around for another entire year.
Oh.
All right. Speaking of new mechanics, the only other one that had not much of the new ones had much impact. When we talk about new mechanics, like Overkill didn't see much impact from Rastakhan's. Boomsday had Magnetic, didn't see much impact. The only except for Ziliax. The only mechanic that from the past year that's probably going to stay in a lot more sets was Rush. Rush was a big winner.
Yeah.
As far as mechanics go, Rush is probably the most impactful keyword they've made in quite a long time.
Yeah, the most impactful new one they've had since Discover, for sure.
Yeah, so that's a problem. And then you have other but the other thing is certain deck archetypes they make. It's like they make them and then they don't fit. It's kind of like they feel unfinished or they don't work. We kind of get a lot of. And I hate to bring up, I hate to dig up the dead horse, but it feels like Freeze Shaman again sometimes. Like they'll come up with these new kitschy mechanics They're like, or deck, like, here's a deck you could try with this class. Like, what's it, what's new, like,
Rush Warrior.
yeah, like Rush Warrior. It's like, that'll be a thing, right, guys? And then it's like, no, there's just not enough support. Or it just,
Hey guys, check out this cool
it's a fun mechanic with no way to win, really.
The hand buff Warlock thing with Harik.
Yeah, like, like, if you want me to play a new mechanic in this game, you kind of have to reward me more for doing the thing you want me to do. Because that was the problem with Freeze Shaman. You didn't get enough reward for doing the things that you were supposed to do in Freeze Shaman.
Like with Harik.
Yeah, like with Harik, yeah.
If you were one of the players who got as their free lower Harik, just uninstall the game because it's so bad.
Well, or dust them. You don't have to, let's not get drastic here.
No, just leave. Your luck's so bad you will never win a game again.
All right. Back to so because of the relatively low power level and not many new mechanics introduced, the impact of the last year of standard sets had basically no impact on the meta whatsoever.
Well,
minus odd and even decks.
Whichwood kind of Whichwood has defined the meta for the last year. With so now what you play is odd decks, even decks, cube decks, or some kind of OTK.
Yeah, we're kind of in this space where you're actually more limited to what you should play to do well. If you want to be the spiky kind of player, you play those kind of decks. Like right now, playing aggro, like flat aggro or flat control, doesn't quite get it done.
Yeah, because they keep nerfing aggro cards, and they don't print good aggro cards. They print lots of very good combo or anti-control cards, and no aggro cards. And then they nerf the classic aggro cards.
Yeah, so does this mean that Team 5 is afraid to maybe reprise any sort of aggro again? Because we did have an aggro meta at one point where it was like aggro shaman and pirate warrior existed in the same space. And I don't know if people liked that much. I did. Because I like those kind of decks.
Like, you can't please everybody. Like, that was too aggressive a meta. Pirate warrior and aggro shaman were nuts. Because they printed so many good cards for them in such a short space of time. But like the answer is not just then to print no aggro cards. So then you go from like a long time of just an aggressive meta to a long time of a meta where aggro is terrible. There needs to be some kind of middle ground. Mike D in the chat says, raise a relevant point. Didn't they have to cut down on the power creep after the previous year's sets though? Yes. Kobolds and Catacombs was just a mistake in its entirety. I hate that set with a burning passion. It's just bollocks. How many cards from that set just completely broke the game? Like, the best deck in the game right now is still predicated on Master Oakheart. Still.
Yeah. Well, he'll be gone soon.
But it's just... Ugh. Like, Lights of Frozen Throne was just... I think more powerful in a slightly fairer way. Like, Death Knights were insane, but the really good cards from Frozen Throne were a lot less hateful.
Yeah,
like
they were good. Like Lich King, good. Corpse Taker, good.
Yeah, like it's not like Spellstone, like Hunter Spellstone on 5. Okay, I lose. Oakheart on 9. Okay, I lose. The recruit mechanic was just a horrible, horrible idea.
Kingsbane.
Kingsbane was just the worst. Skull, Cube. I hate Kobolds and Catacombs.
Well, Felderai Strider came out of that. You like that card.
I do. It's a cool card. A lot of them, though, are just the worst. And Ungoro was like the sleeper of the three, where it's just everything in it was just pretty good.
Yeah, but we don't give it too much flack either.
Well, yeah, they're all really powerful, but Ungoro was like the fairest kind of powerful. Then, Frozen Throne had Death Knights. Well, like
You say that.
The quintessential Ungoro card is Sunkeeper, which is like one of the most powerful cards in Hearthstone, but yet you don't hate it because it's a fairly, like, it's powerful in a fair way. It's not like you can play around it, but it's just very strong. Then you have Frozen Throne, introduced Death Knights, which are, I'd say, a lot more unfair than anything Ungoro did.
Yeah, so, when I speak to when I speak to the player base, I do get a lot of complaints about the Death Knights. I know my one friend Greg would always tell me, "Hey, dude, I can't play this game because this is a Frostless Jaina." I'm like, she's not even like the worst Death Knight to play against.
Yeah, Rexar is just the worst. Jaina's Jaina in a meta where Jaina's good is horrible. Anduin kind of broke the game for a while with Raza. Gul'dan's just dumb. It's that all of them have, like, Uther has recently become like, or he was for a while, he was kind of a meta staple. The only one who never really took off was just Garrosh.
Oh, and Thrall.
Thrall even had a moment, like when Evolve Shaman, like the token version was good, it was really good. Like when you had Corridor Creeper, Thrall, and like Ungoro cards, but with all the pirates and stuff, that deck was nuts. So yeah, Frozen Throne, nuts. And then kind of Kobolds just introduced a lot of complete degeneracy. And that's kind of just... And the combination of those three sets has just been the entire game ever since. Like, Witchwood introduced Odd and Even to kind of combine with those three sets. And that's basically what we've been playing since.
Yeah. Also, I did want to say that, mention as far as Ungoro goes, there is one card there people don't talk about too fondly, and that is Caverns Below.
Okay, yeah. That card is dumb. And it's still, after 3 nerfs,
still
just
playable.
Winning tournaments.
Yeah. I think that card is just unnerfable at this point.
Yeah, there are some cards which, like, they do this thing where they try and preserve the kind of
spirit of the card, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's a terrible thing. I think that's a mistake they make a lot. Caverns Below, like, some cards should be Warsong commanded. Caverns Below is not... You can't make it work in the game and be fair. What it does is just too good. Like Oakheart or Barnes, what they do is just so unfairly powerful that trying to preserve that in the space of the game just won't work. And until you just change what the card actually does, it's going to be horrible. And Kingsbane.
Right. So rotation approaches. So a lot of these cards are gonna phase out. So then we will have some freedom again. We'll be back down to 4 sets to play with. So,
I can't wait. I just hope the new one isn't like
we just expect to have odd and even decks float around, and I think that is kind of a negative strike, because you made these cards where they basically stay in meta for 2 years, and now they basically warp people's deck building tendencies, I guess.
Yep. The next set is going to be the first one, which I just don't pre-order at all, because I've kind of realized there's no point anymore.
You'd have to show me something really good.
Yeah, like, I am one of those people who is at the point like, okay, there's been 2 sets which have done literally nothing, and I've spent a fair bit of money on them, so I'm going to stop.
Or I'll just get less of it at this point. I'm sorry. I mean, I love buying cards, don't get me wrong, and I love collecting, but, I do have limits.
Yep, I'm just going to use my gold. Then if things turn out to be good, then yeah, I'll buy some. If they don't, I'm just going to be like, yep, screw it. Whatever.
We'll make what we need. Well, we're at a point where you can get a good amount of dust. So you can just make what you need. Because if you don't play Wild, you don't need some of these cards that are rotating.
Yeah, a lot of stuff will rotate, which is going to be completely useless. Like, the Rogue Quest is one of those interesting ones, which is like demonstrates the complete difference between standard and wild. In standard, it's incredible. In wild, it's completely useless.
Yeah.
It's
All
great.
right. So next topic. There were a lot of changes to ladder and its esports implications. Basically, now ladder doesn't really matter at all for esports.
Nope.
And that's good. In a way.
Well, it's probably good.
We don't know.
Yes, the fact that we don't know is kind of the big issue.
But it made life a lot easier for people who are, who's are professionals, this is their job to play Hearthstone, basically.
Oh yeah, the way the previous system worked was horribly unhealthy for those involved, because it kind of promoted this way of doing things where you kind of just go all in right at the end. You don't sleep, you don't go outside, you don't eat, and you just grind.
Yeah. Do you know? It's they call that in the industry the crunch. You know what industry has the crunch? The game design industry. The game design industry.
Yep.
And that's unhealthy there too.
Yep, because the game design industry just has so many horror stories that I don't think that's a good thing to imitate. Yeah, and well, how good them replacing ladder with these tournaments is going to depend a lot on the new format they introduce, which they will announce on the 19th, how the tournaments work, all manner of things, which we don't really have any details on yet, so it's like tentatively good, I'd say.
Yeah. So again, we don't know if this is good. It is good for the health of the player because there's no more. It eliminates the crunch, but not having any impact at all is. I mean, I could understand maybe it doesn't matter as much as it's different. Like when you say ladder meta is always different than tournament meta. That's all you can really say about that. So,
like in principle, having tournaments qualify you for tournaments makes sense but then it does raise the big question of, okay, ladder doesn't mean anything now. Everything's done via tournaments. What is the point of playing ladder?
Yeah, so it's like, why would you even play? You just show up to your tournaments, play your game. So basically, ladder is practice.
Yeah, but it's like, but then you have this ranking system, like especially at Legends, and then why would you?
Yeah, because alternatively, what you could do is if you formed a play group of really high, really strong players, and just practice with other people. Yeah, don't worry about your rank.
Yeah, and then for a game which is largely the ladder system, and then ladder does not matter, what's the deal?
Yeah, it's like you put this ladder in, and now what am I supposed to do with this? I mean, I guess it's like kind of like a feel-good thing to see you still get this feel-good moment of like, hey, I gained some stars, hey, I gained some ranks. So as a regular player, this kind of makes it like a feel-good thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, for, say me, like, I'm so far past the point where I'm like, oh, hit legend.
If you've done it once already, yeah.
Yeah, once you've done it like 50 times, you just don't really
It's just
care.
like, it's whatever, yeah. The magic is gone, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, for me, the only possible thing would be to try and hit rank 1 legend or something like that. And, like, that's a lot of work for literally no reason.
Yeah.
Except just to be like, hey, I did this. Because I don't really care enough. Like, because there's no...
You get your name on the top of a board on a website.
Woo! Yeah, because there's no sort of single player incentives. Like, it's like, okay, I've got the golden classes. I've hit legend with all the classes. I've done this stuff. I got the legend card back. Now what do I do?
Well, the answer is
nothing. Nothing. They need to introduce some kind of like single player incentives, like for long-term players who've done most of the stuff that you can do in the game and like just want something else to work towards. That's been a big issue for, I think, a long time. And like, it's why people just kind of have, I've seen a lot of people just be like, oh, I'm just going to go play Magic. I'm just going to go play Eternal. I'm going to go play a different game because there's nothing left for me to do.
Yeah, people are playing. Yeah, well, basically that's why you're seeing a lot of your favorite Hearthstone celebrities on Dota chess.
Exactly. People are just bored. we need like more stuff to do to work towards. People like the game. They just don't have a reason to play it.
Yeah, it's not that we hate the game, not at all. Yeah, I like Hearthstone a lot.
Same, but I'm also fantastically bored of it.
Yeah, you have to keep giving me reasons to play your game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in a stale meta with nothing to work towards, I'm kind of just like, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, changes to ladder, good, possibly good.
Possibly good, but changes to the single player experience very much needed. We need like new game modes or something like that.
Yeah, you need other ways to play the game. Next, nerfs. There were a lot of them this past year.
That is good.
Quite a bit. Nerfs are good. However, most of the nerfs were to core set cards.
Yes.
Right.
The concept of nerfs is good.
The concept of nerfs is great. The fact that we have them so frequently is maybe not.
Oh, no, I disagree. I want nerfs as regularly as possible. More nerfs is good, because it changes the game and makes it more interesting. The less nerfs you have, the more it gets boring faster, and then you don't do anything.
The problem with nerfs is, like, nerfing too much is you get a lot of backlash from the community. Like, people will not play you get people saying, I'm not going to play because you nerfed that card, or I don't like, that was my favorite class, and you basically nerfed it into oblivion. Yeah, case in point, the Druid class.
I mean, Druid is still good. It's fine. You just have to find a different way to
harder.
play it.
Yeah. But people are very
class which is actually not good is Shun. That's just bad.
The problem is, like, people view nerfs as punishment, but it's not.
I mean, you think about it this way: you play another game. How often do you want them to balance patch another kind of game, like a shooter?
Pretty frequently.
Exactly. Nerfs are balance patches.
Yeah, and you don't see this in many other card games. Like in a physical card game, they can't do nerfs. They can do erratas, where they can make a general statement saying this is what the card actually should say. Like if they actually that only happens very, very infrequently. It happens very infrequently. It's like usually an emergency, like something went to press and it didn't get printed the right way or something like that.
Yeah, like one of the big upsides of playing an online, completely digital CCG is the fact that they can just change the cards. And the fact that this set in particular, the new team have been like, they've made two sets of changes for the first time. I think that's amazing. There are different issues because they are to mostly the core set, and that kind of raises questions of what is the point of the core set?
Yeah, exactly. So Hearthstone is probably the only game, even in the digital space, that has a evergreen core set, a set of cards that stays around in the standard form in every format, and it's available to every player no matter what at all times. Yep. But the problem is if you keep changing it, what's the it doesn't feel as evergreen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's this weird conflict of design interests where they say that they want this classic set to always be around, always for people to play, but at the same time, they will nerf or rotate cards that they see as too ubiquitous, that show up too much. Those are like two heavily conflicting things. Like, Azure Drake classic set showed up too much, they rotated it. Sylvanas, same thing. Ragnaros, same thing. Equality, nerfed. Hunter's Mark been nerfed twice. Unleash the Hounds, that got nerfed.
Warsong Commander's been nerfed 4 times.
Warsong Commander nerfed into the absolute ground. Fiery War Axe completely obliterated. So it's like, okay, so the idea is they want a classic set of bad cards which don't get played, it seems.
That doesn't seem like a good idea either.
That seems like a terrible idea. So it's like every card which is good enough from the classic set to actually see regular play is just on the road to being nerfed, and then you just wind up with this set of cards which will always be there, but won't ever get played.
I think the thing is also, like, with the set, they don't really add anything into the classic set. It's basically just the same same list of cards, and then they get changed. But they could always add cards from other sets into the classic set.
I don't think that solves the issue, because then if a card is good enough from another set to be added in, and then if it's over time, it will become too ubiquitous, and then it will get nerfed. So
right, that's the problem you have with that, unfortunately.
Evergreen set is, to echo Mr. Brian Kibler, just bad.
Yeah, it's not right. It seemed like a good idea on paper. I think in practice, it's turning out not to be as good.
Like, I think it was a good idea. Like, it seemed like a good idea at the start, but the longer and longer the game goes on, the worse of an idea it seems. And I think it will reach a point where they're just like, yeah, this isn't good.
Well, what would you do? I guess
just
the question is how you fix it.
Classic set. Just make standard
a certain number of sets
of expansions.
Yeah. I mean, other games do that. It's not like I will say most players come from other card games where there is rotation. There are very few card games without it, and the ones that don't have it have a very long banned list or restricted list.
Yeah, that's a real pain to kind of keep up with.
So it's kind of like, okay, you want to play Hearthstone. Here's a list of cards that you can't play, kind of thing. That doesn't feel good. That seems like kind of like a roadblock for a new player, at the very least. And for older players, getting your cards banned feels bad too. Yeah,
I think the main reason they hold on to Classic is the kind of new player thing, where they're like they want players to have cards that they know will stick around forever, and what's the point in having cards that stick around forever if they're just bad?
Or if we're just going to change them all the time.
Yeah. That's the point. Black Snap in chat just says they should have just taken the MTG philosophy and just reprint classic cards when they see fit.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Because like certain cards, it's like, okay, is this card safe? I remember I listened to a statement from Mark Rosewater, the head of R&D for Wizards, about reprints and why certain cards don't get reprinted. Like, I think it was the one they were talking about is Birds of Paradise, which is a very popular Magic card, and it has been for a long time. It hasn't been reprinted in a very, very long time. And the reason they said it was because they need to make sure it's safe for that standard environment, basically. So if a card isn't safe for the standard environment, they won't reprint it in a set. Same thing goes with stuff like Lightning Bolt and other cards such as that. Like cards that are have been on a long time. Players know what they are. They have a lot of classic appeal. They don't get reprinted if they're not sure if they're safe, because they made that mistake before. I do want to reference Thoughtseize getting reprinted in Theros. For everyone who was Magic, was a terrible idea, and even Mark Rosewater had acknowledged that. On turn one, stripping a card from your opponent, getting a card stripped from your hand felt really bad, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah,
but yeah, classic set I think is a pretty crap idea, and hopefully they do something about it soon, because
I wouldn't mind larger sets with the inclusion of older cards in them. If we didn't have the classic set anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
So that I think would be the best solution in this case, is just make larger sets but have reprints.
Yep, if you want to reprint a card, if you think it's a good addition to a particular set, if it fits, do it.
Yeah, and the good news is like you save a lot of R&D time too, because you don't need to develop that card. You just need to test it in that environment. And you don't have to do new commissions for it, so you don't need new art or animations or anything like that. You just have that card. There it is. Because I remember I had asked Pat Nagel about, hey, have you ever thought about doing alternate art cards? And said we did, but we know when you have a card with a familiar image, it's better to just use that image because people can identify that card by that image.
Yeah, I identify cards by their picture almost all of the time. So
or their sound bite.
No, because that only happens once you've played it, and if you played the wrong card, then you're like, oh crap. That's never fun.
All right.
So,
Next item. So for a long time, they were talking about tournament modes coming to Hearthstone. And all of a sudden, one day, there was a dev post saying, we've canceled tournament mode for the foreseeable future. That was a big kick in the pants to the Hearthstone community. Because that would have helped a lot of people.
Yep. What I was talking about before, about how they need some more kind of single player content. That would probably be it.
Yeah, if you had tournaments and people making tournaments that you could join.
Yeah, if there was just like a mode where it's just like in-game tournaments, you can be like, I fancy playing in a tournament. I'm gonna just click enter, put in my decks. Let's go.
Nope. Yeah, especially if it was like super customizable. Like I could set the restrictions on the tournament and stuff like that. Like what card, what kind of format it was, what cards were allowed. You know, if it was searchable, give me a searchable listing of tournaments you could go to, like a board where it's like I could join this tournament. You know.
Yeah, I mean, for people like you, like innkeepers, it's a really good thing. People running Tavern Heroes, it's great. For casual players who want to try out competitive play, for competitive players who just need to like practice, for like groups of friends who just want to like set up a tournament with themselves, or like if you're just bored in the evening and just like I just fancy playing in a tournament. For so many people,
I just need a break from ladder, but I still want to play something competitive.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if you want to actually kind of play, like practice competitively, your only option is either have a practice group of friends or play best of ones on ladder. Best of ones are not good practice for competitive play. If you have a way that you can actually practice it, then that's amazing. Because right now in like Challenger Friend, there's no propensity to even do bans or anything like that. It's really limited. For a 5+-year-old game, the level of depth to kind of the friendly challenge system is absolutely awful.
Yeah, because all you can do is challenge a friend to a standard game, or a wild game, or a tavern brawl game. Like if I want to,
or play a friend in just random games, but you can't like. You have to keep score yourself. You have to do bans yourself through a different platform.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of things outside the Hearthstone platform. So why would you not try to include everything on your platform? You know?
Yeah, I mean, the NetEase in China do have all this stuff, so it's not crazy to imagine it happening in the Hearthstone client, but they just don't. I don't know why they don't. They've never said why they don't.
It's kind of crazy to think about that because you do have other like pretty much every other game Blizzard makes like StarCraft, Warcraft 3, Overwatch has custom lobbies, so where you can join and you can set guidelines on that lobby.
Yeah, it's like I don't really understand why they said when they cancelled it what they had been working on was not what people wanted. And I was just like, why didn't you ask what people wanted more? Why did you just decide to start building something without kind of surveying your player base to see what they had envisioned? Like, it was a whole massive cock up.
I think the big is just like a broken promise. Like you said it was coming and then it didn't happen. And Blizzard doesn't do that too much.
Heroes of the Storm says otherwise. Blizzard haven't been great recently.
Still too soon.
Blizzard haven't been great recently, let's be honest.
Since like Activision is slowly kind of creeping in, things have not been looking as good as they used to, that's for sure.
Nope.
And then the last item we wanted to address in this year in Hearthstone is the upcoming changes to the live Hearthstone esports landscape. So what that means is basically this year was the first year of the HCT tour, where you basically had a bunch of Grand Prix tournaments, basically open entry tournaments live tournaments worth HCT points that you could enter without any kind of restriction. You just show up with your device. You didn't even need, you could play on your phone for crying out loud.
Yeah.
and you can come and play in a very competitive live Hearthstone. This is something that other games have. They have Grand Prix, they have Opens.
Yeah, I think
but
it was a very good idea executed quite badly.
Yes. So the problem was because Blizzard can't be everywhere and do all the production for everything, they have to hand it out to other third parties basically. So for example, the one I worked was handed to Nursery Gamers, and they are a esports production company based out of Philadelphia. So obviously Blizzard could not be in Philadelphia. While they did send representatives, they couldn't send their production team, all their equipment. That's a lot for Blizzard to send all around the world, basically. Yep. Even though Blizzard has multiple offices, they don't have, you can't just, okay, we're going to have a setup, this kind of production setup, and staff ready to run an event in every single nation, every single continent, basically.
No, they don't. You wouldn't expect them to provide that level of support, but there are some things that you would expect, which they still don't do. Like the fact that they don't have, like, just off the top of my head, a standardized set of overlays for the stream, like assets for the stream. When you surely you want some kind of coherent branding, not to have everyone to kind of do their own thing. That one always struck me as resoundingly weird.
Yeah, because I remember Nursery had to create all the assets for HCT Philly.
How does HCT Esports not have some kind of asset package for streams?
Yeah, you figured that would make their life a lot easier, honestly.
Yeah, just like, okay, so if like the fact that they don't tell people, okay, use these assets, use these scenes, we want it streamed in this quality, using this list of gear, something like that, so that they have some kind of standardized quality of stream, which they just didn't have. Like HCT Italy was the one which was just
not very good.
Yeah, but then you have something which is done, like HCT Germany, done by Take TV, who have done loads and are fantastic. You get an amazing hot tour stop. So it was just entirely down to the third party when it should be not.
And then also you have like the organizational staff, the organizational aspect of it. Like there was that one, was it like Thailand or something? They had no AC.
Oh,
they
yes.
Were playing all day, and they were playing all day, basically.
Yep. It seemed like not enough research done into third-party, like, administration, venue, the equipment they had, the staff they had. Like, they just kind of went, okay, sure, you do it.
Yeah, because someone has to do it. If they can't do it.
Yeah, it's like putting it out to third parties makes perfect sense, but you should have some kind of fairly stringent process for choosing these third parties. Yeah. But it is worth noting that talking about it now is completely null and void because they're not doing these anymore.
Yeah, so these are going away in favor of basically mostly online all online tournaments, and then if you use the online tournaments to qualify to go to live tournaments.
Yeah, bringing back the Open Cups. Yay.
Yeah, but we don't know what company is. We don't know who who is running these. They have not revealed that as of yet.
Oh.
I'm not sure. He was on Battlefy before, and then they doled that out different Open Cups to different tournament organizers to run.
Yeah. We don't know who's going to do it.
It was kind of a mix. It was kind of a mixed bag. Some were run really well, some were not.
Yep. We don't know who's running it. We don't know what format it's going to be played in. We don't know the platform it's happening on. And we
don't know a lot of things.
Yeah, so 19th is when we will actually hopefully know things. But right now, we just don't really know. What I'll say is the idea of qualifying for tournaments with tournaments is good. The fact that there are invitational aspects to the higher up tournaments is very bad. I hate that. But we'll know more nearer the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll miss opens because that was like the tour, because like having opens is fun. It lets you meet new, you get to meet new people. Maybe you meet somebody, and maybe a Hearthstone player that you're a big fan of. Like you can't if you came to HT Philly, you get to meet Orange Viper. They were there.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah. So you get like a lot of different. You get a lot of high level competitors who want to play Hearthstone, and they like playing in a live setting.
Yeah. The tour stops were really cool, and I am quite disappointed.
I'm quite sad
that
to see them go. Yeah.
Yeah, they were sweet. And I never got to even go to one because I'm broke, which is really also annoying. But,
yeah. So overall for this year, I would say for a grade, I would give Hearthstone, in the state of things, I would say like, I hate to say it, I would give it a C- or a D+. Needs a lot. They need a lot of improvement in the next coming year.
Yep, I'll agree with that.
I would definitely not say the year is a complete fail. However, I would definitely not.
It wasn't a complete failure, but it was not good.
No.
Hopefully this year will be better.
That has been your Around the Hearth State of Hearthstone Address for 2019. Myself and rebobson are not politicians, but we do value your opinion. If you have any opinions to add us, please drop us a note in our Discord or on Twitter. Tell us what you think about the current state of Hearthstone, and we'll definitely make sure to give that a read, and maybe address on the show next week.
Maybe, but that is a wrap for this week. So thanks for tuning in to Around the Hearth once again, everyone. Unfortunately, we don't have any new reviews to read out on this week's show. If you liked what you hear, please do go to the links in the show notes to either Podbean or iTunes and tell us what you think about the show there. There are a whole bunch of ways that you can support the show: on Patreon at patreon.com/aroundthehearth, on Twitch using a Twitch Prime sub, a regular sub, or follow, or by joining the link to our Discord server in the show notes. And you can find us on Facebook, on facebook.com/aroundthehearth, and Twitter at aroundthehearth. And you can listen to the show on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean, as well as watching the episodes on our YouTube each week. And with that, I've been rebobson.
And I'm Adam.
Reminding you to say hello to a squirrel, and we'll see you around the hearth next week.